What's up, YouTube? I'm back with another video, and today we're going to be reacting to Robert Greene's motivation for writing the 48 Laws of Power. And if y'all ain't familiar with that, you should definitely look it up. You know what I mean? It shows a lot of different stuff about society, different techniques you can use, even though some of it's like manipulative. But like all the people that's in control or leaders, whatever you want to call them, they all be using a lot of that stuff. You feel me? And he just had learned it from his experiences through working a lot of different places and all that stuff. But we're finna get straight in this, man. Make sure y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments below. For sure.
From the 48 Laws of Power, Law 21, play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. So when I was preparing for this, I was reading these daily meditations, and I was actually shocked. I was really quite shocked by them. I was shocked by that one. And I was very unclear as a consequence as to your motivations. And so I was thinking, I don't get this. I don't understand this exactly. It's like, this is very deceptive. And then I talked to my team who
play a fool to catch a fool. It's not hard to understand for people, you know what I'm saying? That's definitely something you can use.
Like your books a lot. And my daughter, who really liked interviewing you, and I thought, well, there's something going on here that I don't quite understand, which is certainly possible. And then I thought, well, this is maybe a shadow exploration, something like that.
Yes.
And then I thought, like, I was kind of a dimwit for not catching that earlier. But it is shocking. These are very manipulative laws, let's say. And so, can you guide me through the rationale for producing material like that? What are you trying to do with your books? And they've obviously been misunderstood. It says in Wikipedia, Greene's books are sometimes described as manipulative and amoral. And so,
yes, I mean, if that would just be how somebody would view it, though. Like, different people are gonna view it different ways. I just find it very informative. You know what I'm saying? Intellectual stuff like that. Stuff that everybody should know, honestly. Whether to use it or just to spot it out when it's being, taking place.
Clear this up for me.
Well, that it's a bit manipulative when people write that, because a great deal of the 48 Laws of Power, I'd say, maybe 2/3 of them are not manipulative, have nothing to do with deception. They have things to do with kind of common sense ideas about power, such as being generous with people, such as creating compelling spectacles, such as entering action with boldness and kind of how you present yourself, sort of things about your image and your appearance. But there are definitely some laws that are quite manipulative. And then my other books don't really go into things like that. So it is a bit of a distortion to write that. But where this comes from is basically, I have a particular idea of power. So maybe I should explain that a little bit. My idea of power, it's not about this kind of grand thing of political or war or something. It's on a very individual level. And the idea for me...
You said individual level, so like the power within, you know what I'm saying? Like that inner power you just have through your soul that comes out and shows through your character and all that.
He comes from Nietzsche and his idea of the will to power, which he explains as every organism has a desire to expand itself, has a desire for expansion. And so I think that for human beings, the desire that we have this innate propensity for wanting to expand beyond our limits. We want to feel like we have some degree of ability to influence other people, that we can control our own career and learn more and develop greater skills.
And it's crazy because some people are influenced so easily just from like little stuff, for real. That's why you gotta always stand your ground on things, for real, and just really try to overall fill it out and see every angle that person could be coming from.
Skills and have more kind of power and influence in our life. The feeling that I cannot have any power or influence over my children, my spouse, my colleagues, my boss, my career in general, is deeply, deeply unsettling for the human animal and causes all kinds of attempts at what I call negative power, passive aggression, etc., setting yourself up as a victim to kind of leverage power in a negative way. And so the problem
people playing that victim.
And a lot of this comes from Machiavelli, who inspired a lot of the 48 Laws. The problem is that we live in a world where this desire for some kind of power, negative way. And so the problem is, a lot of this comes from Machiavelli, who inspired a lot of the 48 Laws. The problem is that we live in a world where this desire for some kind of power butts up against kind of codes of behavior that have gotten stricter and stricter and stricter, particularly in the 21st century, about what is acceptable, about what is politically correct. So we're supposed to appear to be these paragons of virtue, these paragons of fairness and democracy.
I know, he look like he don't be getting no sleep, bro. He probably be thinking a lot about so much different stuff. Cause I know I be doing that personally. And he wrote a book about it, saying when you stuff you gotta think about a lot. So it's like you already know. He wrote multiple books too. I think the Artists Deduction as well.
At the same time, we're all trying to angle for different degrees of power in our work, in our relationships, etc. And so, because of that dynamic, we have to be extremely careful in this world. And I compare it to the courts of like Louis XIV, where all of the courtiers, if they're too overt in their power moves, the king will disapprove of them and will not banish them, but they'll be kind of excluded to the corner of the palace. And so the game was to be sort of indirect, to be polite and ingratiating, and if you had an enemy, to know how to kind of very quietly get rid of them. And so this is kind of where the 48 Laws of Power came out from. So you quoted me, I had like 80 different jobs, probably more like 60, 65. But I saw all kinds of very deceptive games being played continually in the various different jobs I had. And I worked in every conceivable field.
And yeah, he said he really worked 80 jobs. That's crazy, bro. 80 is wild.
I didn't see any kind of honesty about this dynamic in the human world, and it really kind of irritated me. All the self-help books were sort of describing a world that I never saw existed. You know, I saw people being very political, having egos and having problems with their egos. And I didn't see any books like they're kind of describing what I had encountered every day. So law number one is never outshine the master. And the idea is that if you try too hard to impress your boss or the person above you, you're liable to make them feel insecure. You're going to trip on their ego, and something bad
will... ego is a big thing for anybody who even has a little bit of power. Like anybody who could tell somebody what to do, they usually like push towards their ego, at least at times, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, you just gotta know how to control it for real. Like, but some people have like a huge ego, so it just, it seems like the more power somebody have, the more ego they have, but it still personally depends on the person as well, because two people could be in the same league of power, but you know, one could have a huge ego, another one could not be within their ego that much, so it just depends as well.
Happen to you, right?
But more and likely.
So this seemed like the fact that people have egos and operate with egos, and you have to be careful with them, seems very clear to me, but I didn't find books out there that were describing it. So I hope this kind of gives you an idea, a little bit of the context where the book came from.
Well, so I can't remember who sent me this. I think it was Clay Routledge. Yeah, I think that's right. He just sent me a survey that this organization he works with has completed, stating that something like 40% of millennials don't feel they have any control over their life.
Right.
So that is related to the first issue that you brought up, and you obviously consider that problematic, and you said that, well, it's good for us to have some control over our destinies, and also to feel that that's a possibility, to see it at least as a goal.
Yes.
And that if we feel
you can tell how much he's thinking on it.
Consciously thwarted in that goal, or believe that it's impossible, that doesn't mean we're going to give up our striving. It means it's going to go underground, and then it's going to manifest itself in all sorts of deceptive ways.
Exactly.
And then you said that you were interested in Nietzsche's idea of will to power as, in some sense, the central motivation of the organism, cross species to some degree. and then you talked about the jobs that you've had. So so I got that right. I hope I've got that
Yes, you
summed
did. That
up
was very
reasonably
well put. Thank you.
Okay, and so to some degree, and then you said, well, you had all these jobs, and you found that people were engaged in manipulative and deceptive strategies a fair amount of the time, and that
Hey,
no
yeah, that boy really thinking.
one was really warning people about this or delineating out the strategies.
Yeah.
Okay, so that seems to me to be reasonable. I mean, I'm a big admirer of the work of Carl Jung, which everyone listening to this knows more than they even want to know. And he was certainly sensitive to the idea that people had a terrible shadow,
Yes.
that they would clothe themselves in the garments of moral virtue
Right.
and act out a virtuous
Shadow.
persona, but because of the thwarted will to strive, in some sense, that they have all sorts of motivations: sexual, power-related, dominance, aggression, anger, resentment, that aren't admitted thoroughly, and that are snakes under the carpet or elephants under the rug or skeletons in the closet, and they pollute human relationships. And
Yes.
I certainly believe that's true. I believe that's the corruption of human relationships by a form of severe deceit. And I also think it's reasonable to warn people against that, and also to alert them to the fact that such things operate in their own souls.
Yeah, that's the end of the video, yo. He said such things operate in their own souls. Man. Yeah, they be getting deep there, for real. Yeah, make sure y'all check them out, man. Make sure y'all check out the 48 Laws of Power. Very informative, like I said. It can help you in life, you know what I'm saying? In multiple ways, for real. But yeah, that's the end of the video, yo. Don't forget to let me know what y'all thought about that. And remember, y'all, stay positive and have a great rest of y'all day. For sure.